Hey guys, tonight we're going to a place where turn that frown upside down, ISNT, just an annoying platitude, it's actually a capital offense. We're traveling to a village where the skies are permanently the color of a wet slate, where the architecture is aggressively bummed out, and where the greatest crime you can commit is showing your teeth in a smile. You probably won't survive a reality check about how much you rely on social niceties. You know that fake smile you give the barista, or the polite chuckle you offer when your boss tells a terrible joke? Here, those reflexes would get you put in the stocks. Imagine a world where resting bitch face isn't a personality trait, but a survival skill. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really enjoy my work here. And hey, tell me where you're watching from and what time it is. I love seeing the timestamps. Roll in from all the corners of the world where smiling is still legal. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for a soft background, and let's start tonight's journey together. You are walking down a muddy road that seems to be fighting you every step of the way. The mud here isn't just dirt and water. It's a thick clay-like substance that sucks at your boots with a wet schluck-schluck sound. Trying to pull you down into the earth. It is late October in the year 1349, and the air is heavy with a mist that tastes faintly of wood smoke and stagnant water. You pull your cloak tighter around your shoulders. It's a scratchy wool cloak you picked up at the last village, dyed a deep, unobjectionable shade of charcoal. You were warned to wear it. "Don't wear blue," the merchant had whispered, looking over his shoulder. "And for the love of God, burn that red scarf." So here you are, dressed like a shadow, trudging toward the walled town of Ostra. The town emerges from the fog like a bad mood made of stone. The walls are high and formidable, built from dark granite that seems to absorb the little light the sun is trying to push through the clouds. There are no flags flying from the battlements, no colorful heraldry, just damp stone and the silhouette of a guard pacing slowly back and forth, his pike resting heavily on his shoulder. You approach the gate. It's a massive iron-bound door currently shut. There is a smaller wicket gate for pedestrians guarded by two men who look like they've never heard a joke in their lives. They are wearing chainmail that hasn't been polished, probably on purpose to avoid any cheerful gleam. Their tabards are a dull, unwashed beige. You step up to them. Your instinct is to smile. It's the human default setting for "I come in peace." You want to give a little nod, a tight-lipped grin, maybe say "Morning, gents, don't." You catch yourself just in time. You flatten your lips. Relax your eyes until they look dead and hollow. You channel the energy of a person who has just dropped their ice cream cone in the sand. What if the guard says? His voice is a low rumble, devoid of any inflection. "State your business." "I seek shelter," you say, keeping your voice monotone, and trade. The guard steps closer. He isn't looking at your hands to see if you have a dagger. He isn't checking your belt for a coin purse. He is leaning in, uncomfortably close, to inspect your face. He holds up a lantern, even though it's daytime, and shines it right in your eyes. You blink, tearing up a little from the glare. This is good. Tears are a valid currency here. Crow's feet. The guard mutters to his partner, pointing at the corners of your eyes. "Suspicious. Could be from squinting at the sun," the partner replies, sounding bored. "Or it could be from levity." The word levity is spoken with the same disgust one might use for leprosy. You keep your face perfectly still. You think of sad things. You think about the Library of Alexandria burning. You think about that time you waved at someone who wasn't waving at you. It works. Your face settles into a mask of mild existential dread. "Very well," the first guard says, lowering the lantern. "You may enter. But be warned, traveler. Ostra is a place of penance. We do not celebrate here. We do not revel. If you are found with an upturned mouth, you will be fined. If you are found laughing, you will be whipped. He hands you a small wooden token. It's painted black. Your entry pass. Do not lose it. And do not let me see your teeth. You take the token. You nod solemnly. Your wicket gate creaks open a long, agonizing groan of rusty hinges that sounds like a dying can you step through. Welcome to Ostra. The first thing that hits you is the silence. You've been to medieval towns before. They are usually loud. There are blacksmiths hammering, merchants shouting, fresh oysters, children screaming, carts rattling. It's a cacophony of life. Ostra is different. It's not empty. There are people everywhere, but the volume has been turned down to a whisper. The blacksmith is working, but he's wrapping his hammer in leather to dull the ring. The merchants are conducting business in hushed tones, like they are in a library. I have turnips, a woman whispers to a customer. I will take 3, the customer whispers back. God have mercy on us, and on our souls, the woman replies. It's the most depressing farmer's market in history. You walk through the streets. The architecture is oppressive. The houses are tall and narrow, leaning over the street so that the roofs almost touch, blocking out the sky. Everything is built of dark wood or gray stone. There is no whitewash, no flower boxes in the windows. Mainstream historical facts tell us that medieval sumptuary laws were strict regulations designed to keep people in their social class, dictating that a peasant couldn't wear velvet or ermine, for example. But here in Ostra, the laws have been twisted into a psychological straitjacket. It's not just about class, it's about mood. The entire town is engaged in a performative grief, ALARP, of eternal mourning. You pass a group of children playing in the gutter. Well, playing is a strong word. They are sitting in a circle, arranging stones into piles. They are silent. One little girl, maybe 5 years old, picks up a stick and draws a frown in the mud. The other children nod in approval. It's chilling. In any other town, a child drawing a smiley face is cute. Here it's contraband. You notice the animals too. It's a strange phenomenon, likely just your imagination projecting the mood onto them, but even the dogs look depressed. A stray mongrel slinks past you, tail tucked firmly between its legs, head low. It doesn't bark. Barking is joyful noise, just sighs. You feel a strange pressure building in your chest. It's the don't laugh challenge on a sociological scale. You know that feeling when you're at a funeral or a serious meeting and something mildly funny happens and the suppression of the laughter makes it 1,000 times funnier? That's the entire atmosphere of Ostra. The sheer absurdity of it tickles the back of your brain. You see a man trip over a loose cobblestone and catch himself with a clumsy hop. In a normal world, you'd chuckle. Here you have to bite the inside of your cheek until you taste copper. The man who tripped looks around wildly, terrified that someone saw his jig. He quickly crosses himself and assumes a posture of deep shame. "Me culpa," he mutters. "I am a clumsy sinner." You keep walking. You need a place to stay. You spot a sign hanging above a door. The Broken Spirit Inn. The marketing here is incredible. You push open the door. The common room is dark, lit only by tallow candles that smell of rendered fat. The air is thick with smoke. Men are sitting at long tables, drinking from wooden tankards. There's no conversation. It's just the rhythmic thud of mugs hitting the table and the sound of swallowing. You approach the innkeeper. He's a large man with a beard that looks like a tragic shrubbery. He's wiping the bar with a rag that is dirtier than the wood. "Room?" you ask, keeping your voice flat. Upstairs, he grunts. "1 shilling. I ain't no fires in the room." Warmth encourages comfort. Comfort encourages sloth. Right, you say? Of course you pay him. He bites the coin, frowning at it, then drops it into a pouch. "Supper is at sundown," he adds. "Boiled cabbage and hard bread. If you want salt, pray for it." You take a seat in the corner. trying to blend in. You observe the room. It's fascinating in a morbid way. These people aren't necessarily sad. You can see it in their eyes. They're bored. They're frustrated. But they're terrified. There's a trivial fact about medieval physiognomy, the study of a person's character from their outer appearance, that is relevant here. Scholars of the time often associated an open mouth with stupidity or animalistic aggression. To show one's teeth was to expose the skull, a reminder of death, or to mimic a snarling beast. The polite face was a closed, composed face. Astra has just taken this to its logical extremist conclusion. You catch the eye of a woman across the room. She has a basket of wool next to her. For a split second, just a microsecond, her eyes crinkle. She sees you, the stranger in the gray cloak, looking bewildered, and she finds it amusing. Then she remembers. Her face snaps shut like a steel trap. She looks down at her hands. She starts counting rosary beads frantically. She is terrified that you are a spy, because there are spies. You've heard rumors of the Custodes Vultus, the face wardens, secret police who mingle in the crowds, looking for the twitch of a lip or the glint of a happy eye. Historians still argue whether Astra's ban was a result of a specific, heretical cult-taking power, similar to the Dulcinians or the Flagellants, or if it was a collective trauma response to the Black Death that just never turned off. Was it religious zealotry? Or was it PTSD codified into law? Looking at the innkeeper, who looks like he hasn't felt joy since the Crusades, you suspect it's a bit of both. The door opens again. A cold draft sweeps through the room, making the candles flicker. Two men walk in.
Ow.
They are wearing black hoods. They have calipers hanging from their belts, strange wooden measuring tools. The room freezes. The silence, which was already heavy, becomes solid. These are them, the Sorrow Patrol. They walk slowly among the tables. They don't speak. They just observe. One of them stops near a young man who is drinking his ale a little too enthusiastically. The patrolman pulls out his calipers. He leans down and measures the distance between the corners of the young man's mouth. If the corners are upturned even by a millimeter, it's a fine. The young man is shaking. He forces the corners of his mouth down, contorting his face into a grotesque mask of tragedy. The caliper touches his skin. It's cold. The patrolman checks the measurement. He nods, satisfied. Adequate, he whispers. He moves on. You feel your heart hammering against your ribs. This is insane. It's the ultimate totalitarian state. But instead of policing your thoughts, they are policing your facial muscles. You look down at your table, tracing the grain of the wood, trying to make yourself invisible. Why do they do it? Why Astra? The story goes back years. You'll hear about it soon enough. The legend of the jester and the plague. But for now, you just have to survive the night. Sip your ale. It's warm, flat, and watery. It tastes like disappointment, which, you suppose, is exactly the point flavor profile they were going for. Outside, the church bell tolls. It's a slow, dissonant clang. Dong, dong. It sounds wrong. The bell is cracked. They probably cracked it on purpose so it wouldn't sound too melodious. You realize then that you are trapped. The gates are locked for the night. You are stuck in a town where your own biology is the enemy. And as you sit there, surrounded by 50 people who are aggressively not having a good time, you feel a bubble of hysteria rising in your throat.
Yes.
You have to cough to cover it up. A loud hacking cough. Bless you, someone whispers nearby. Don't bless me, you whisper back, getting into the spirit of things. I deserve this cold. The neighbor nods approvingly. You're learning. But as the night deepens and the mist outside presses against the windows like a white shroud, you have to wonder How long can human beings actually live like this? The face is a mirror of the soul. If you force the face to be sad, does the soul eventually follow suit? Or does the joy just build up pressure behind the dam until it bursts? You're going to find out. Because Astra is a powder keg of repressed giggles, and you are holding the match just by being here. You survived the night at the Broken Spirit Inn, though survive feels like a generous term for what you just experienced. The mattress was stuffed with what felt like corn cobs and regret, and the blanket was thin enough to read a manuscript through. You wake up shivering, your back aching in a way that feels spiritually aligned with the town's ethos. If comfort is a sin, you are currently a saint. You head downstairs for breakfast. The common room is exactly as gloomy as you left it, though now it's illuminated by the gray, watery light of dawn filtering through the greased paper windows. Breakfast is a bowl of porridge that looks like it gave up on life halfway through the cooking process. It's gray, lumpy, and tastes faintly of wood ash. You eat it because you're hungry, and because complaining feels like it would draw attention to your haughty spirit. As you scrape the last lump of sadness from your bowl, you notice an old man sitting by the cold hearth. He's not eating. He's just staring into the ashes, his face a road map of deep-etched wrinkles. He looks like he's been sitting there since the invention of sorrow. You decide to take a risk. You grab your mug of water, down ale, and slide onto the bench opposite him. Quiet town, you whisper. The old man looks up. Eyes are milky with cataracts, but they lock onto you with surprising intensity. Quiet is safe, he wheezes. Noise brings the attention of the Almighty, and the Almighty has a heavy hand. You lean in closer. Why? You ask. I've been to towns that suffered fires, floods, and famine. They still sing. They still laugh. Why is Astra different? The old man looks around the room. The innkeeper is busy scrubbing a stain on the floor that looks suspiciously like old blood, and the face wardens are nowhere to be seen. The old man leans forward, his voice dropping to a gravelly rasp. You are new, he says. You do not know the history of the jester. Ah, here it is. The origin story. Every villain has one, and apparently, so does every depressed village. Tell me, you say. It was the year of our Lord, 1348, the old man begins, his hands shaking slightly on the table. The summer was hot, unnaturally hot. The air hung heavy over the valley, thick and sweet like rotting fruit. We were a normal town then. We had festivals. We had a maypole. We wore blue and green. He pauses, looking pained by the memory of color. Then he came. The jester. He spits the word out like a curse. He wore a suit of motley, the old man continues, his eyes widening. Red and yellow diamonds, bells on his hat, bells on his shoes. Jingle, jingle, jingle. You could hear him coming from a mile away. He rode a donkey painted with stripes. Called himself Pippin the Merry. You have to suppress a snort. Pippin the Merry sounds like a character from a children's book, not the harbinger of the apocalypse. But here, context is everything. He set up a stage in the market square, the old man says. He juggled fire, walked on his hands. He told jokes. Dirty jokes about the bishop, jokes about the king and the people. They laughed. The old man shudders. They roared. They slapped their knees. They opened their mouths wide to the sky and shrieked with mirth. The sound echoed off the walls. It was the loudest thing this valley had ever heard. For 3 days, Astra was a carnival. The blacksmith stopped hammering to watch. The baker let his bread burn. We were drunk on laughter. And then you prompt. And then, the old man whispers, the silence fell. Mainstream historical facts tell us that the Black Death, caused by the bacterium Yersinia pestis, arrived in Europe around 1347 and killed between 30% and 60% of the population. 8. It traveled along trade routes, carried by fleas on rats. But medieval people didn't know about germs. They knew about God, and they knew about miasma, corrupted air. The sickness came the very next day, the old man says. It started with the ones who laughed the loudest. They fell ill in the square. High fevers, black boils appearing in the groin and armpits, the size of apples. They vomited blood. He leans in so close you can smell his stale breath. But the worst part was the face. When the fever took them, their muscles spasmed. Their lips pulled back. They died grinning. He's describing Rhesus sardonicus, a highly specific and terrifying medical condition often associated with tetanus or strychnine poisoning, but sometimes reported in plague victims due to muscle contractions or rigorous rigor mortis. To the terrified villagers of 1348, it wasn't a muscle spasm, it was a brand, a signature. They died with the jester's grin on their faces. The old man whispers, God was mocking us. We opened our mouths to laugh, and we let the devil in. The bad air, the malaria, it seeks the open vessel. A laughing man is an open door, so the jester. He disappeared, the old man says darkly. Some say he turned into a rat and scurried into the sewers. Some say he was a demon sent to test our piety. But when he left, half the town went with him to the grave. Mothers, fathers, children. The silence that followed wasn't a choice, traveler. It was a necessity. There was no one left to make noise. You sit back, absorbing this. It's a classic case of post hoc ergo propter hoc. After this, therefore because of this, the jester arrived. Therefore, the jester brought the plague. In the traumatized mind of the survivors, laughter became inextricably linked with death. The elders gathered in the ashes. The old man continues. They passed the edict of tears. They burned the maypole. They dyed their clothes gray with ash and vinegar. They swore a covenant with God. Spare the rest of us, and we will never indulge in the sin of mirth again. We will be solemn. We will be closed. We will keep the bad air out. He looks at you with a pleading expression, and it worked. The dying stopped. God accepted our penance. For 100 years we have been safe, because we are sad. It's a terrifying logic. If your sadness saves your life, happiness becomes a mortal threat. It's survivor's guilt codified into municipal law. What about the jester, you ask? Did he ever come back? They say he walks the mist. The old man murmurs, looking at the window. They say if you giggle in the dark, he hears you. He comes to finish the joke. Great, so now you have to worry about the face wardens and a spectral clown. You thank the old man and slide him a coin. He doesn't smile, obviously. He just nods solemnly, accepting the donation to his misery fund. You leave the inn and step back out into the mud. The story hangs over the town like the fog. Now you understand the architecture. The leaning houses aren't just shoddy construction. They are huddled together in fear, so lack of color isn't a fashion choice. It's camouflage against the wrath of God. You decide to visit the church to see if there is any official record of this Edict of Tears. The church is a heavy, squat building made of black basalt. It looks less like a place of worship and more like a fortress designed to keep joy out. Inside, it is freezing. There are no stained glass windows. Here stained glass lets in frivolous light. Instead, the windows are narrow slits. The nave is dominated by a massive fresco on the back wall. You walk up to inspect it. It's a masterpiece of depression. The painting depicts the plague of mirth. On one side, there are villagers in bright colors, their faces contorted in exaggerated, grotesque laughter. They look demented. In the center stands the jester, painted with horns and a tail, juggling skulls. On the other side, the same villagers are dead, their bodies piled in heaps, their faces frozen in that same rictus grin. Above them, an angry cloud, presumably the Almighty rains fire and arrows. The message is subtle as a brick to the face. Don't have fun, or you will die. A priest is kneeling at the altar. He's wearing rough burlap robes. He's whipping himself gently with a knotted cord. Thwack, thwack. It's a rhythmic, meditative sound. You approach him cautiously, Father. He stops whipping, but doesn't turn around immediately. The church is open for lamentation, he says, not for conversation. I saw the fresco, you say. Is that really how it happened? The priest stands and turns. His face is gaunt, his eyes hollow. He looks like he eats gravel for lunch. It is the truth of Astra, he says. Laughter is the sound of the fool. The fool builds his house on sand. We build our house on sorrow. But surely, you argue gently, a little smile isn't a sin. Christ smiled, didn't he? The priest's eyes narrow. Show me the verse, he snaps. Show me the verse in the scripture where our Lord laughs. He wept. Jesus wept. That is the shortest verse and the most important. He suffered. He bled. Did not tell knock-knock jokes. Historians still argue whether there were theological movements that strictly interpreted. Jesus is a man of sorrows who never laughed. In the medieval period, there was indeed a debate about rhesus laughter. Some monks believed it broke the vow of silence and humility. St. John Chrysostom famously declared that Christ never laughed. Astra has just taken that theological debate and turned it into a police state. We protect the people, the priest continues, his voice rising slightly. The mouth is the gateway to the soul. If you open it wide in levity, you let the demons in. You let the pestilence in. We keep our mouths shut, keep our souls safe. He gestures to a side chapel. Go. Light a candle for your sins. Pray that you do not find anything amusing today. You walk away, feeling a mix of pity and horror. These people aren't evil. They are traumatized. They are living in a permanent state of 1349. They have frozen time to stop the pain. But in doing so, they have stopped life itself. You step back outside. The market is busier now. You watch the interactions with new eyes. You see a mother scolding her child, not for being naughty, but for skipping. Walk with gravity, she hisses. Like a stone, you see a merchant drop a crate of apples. The apples roll everywhere. In a normal town, this would be a moment of slapstick. People would scramble, maybe laugh at the mess. Here, everyone freezes. They look at the apples with horror. The merchant falls to his knees. A tragedy, he wails. A harvest lost. It's an overreaction, but a necessary one. He has to prove he finds the situation tragic, not funny. If he laughed at his own misfortune, the face wardens would have him in irons. You wander toward the town square, the site of the infamous performance. It's a bleak expanse of cobblestones. In the center, there is no fountain, no statue. Just a blackened circle of stones where the maypole used to stand. It looks like a scar on the earth. Trivial fact. In many medieval towns, jesters were actually protected figures. They had the license to fool, allowing them to speak truth to power without losing their heads. But here, the jester is the ultimate boogeyman. The license to fool has been revoked and replaced with a license to mope. You stand in the center of the square, imagining the scene from 100 years ago. The bright colors, the bells, the desperate, manic laughter of a people about to be wiped out. It's haunting. You can almost hear the ghostly echo of a giggle on the wind. But then you hear something real, a sound that makes your blood run cold. It's a sneeze. A man nearby sneezes. Achoo. It's a funny sneeze. It's high-pitched and ends with a squeak. A woman next to him bites her lip. Her eyes widen.
Ow.
She is fighting it. You can see the corners of her mouth twitching. The sheer indignity of the sound has triggered her reflex. Suddenly, a face warden materializes from the crowd. He moves like a wraith. He is there in an instant, his wooden calipers raised like a weapon. "Control yourself, citizen," the warden hisses, stepping into the woman's personal space. The woman gasps, terrified. She slaps her own cheeks hard. "I mourn," so cries out. "I mourn the dust that caused the sneeze." It is a lamentable irritation. The warden holds the calipers to her face, measures, he waits. You hold your breath. The entire square holds its breath. Finally, the warden lowers the tool. The geometry is acceptable, he drones, but barely. "Go to the chapel. Meditate on the suffering of Job." The woman scurries away, weeping with relief. You exhale. This place is a ticking time bomb. Can't outlaw biology forever. Squeaky sneezes, farts, people tripping over ducks. The universe is inherently ridiculous. Astra is fighting a war against the absurdity of existence, and eventually, existence is going to win. But for now, the silence holds. The mist swirls around your ankles. You realize that you are starving, but the idea of eating another bowl of gray sludge makes you want to cry, which ironically would make you the most popular person in town. You pull your cloak tight. You have survived the history lesson. Now you have to survive the day. And looking at the face warden scanning the crowd for crimes of joy, you realize that in Astra, keeping a straight face isn't just polite, it's the only armor you have. You are standing in the middle of the Astra Market Square, but if you close your eyes, you might think you're at a particularly well-attended wake. The bustle of commerce is there, the shuffling of feet, the clinking of coins, the rustle of fabric, but the soundtrack has been stripped out. There's no hawking, no haggling, no buy to get one free. Enthusiasm. It is a pantomime of capitalism. You watch a fishmonger holding up a trout. He doesn't smile to show how fresh it is. He holds it up with a look of profound resignation, as if to say, "Here is a dead fish. It lived a meaningless life, and now you will eat it to prolong your own meaningless existence." What? 2 coppers. The customer nods gravely, hands over the coins, and places the fish in a basket lined with black cloth. It's the most depressing transaction you've ever witnessed. But you aren't just watching the fish. You are re-watching the men in black hoods, weaving through the crowd like sharks in a koi pond. The face wardens. The custodes voltas. You decide to follow them at a safe distance, of course. You want to see how the system works? You want to understand the mechanics of the Sorrow Patrol? They move in pairs, which is a classic intimidation tactic. One to measure, one to write down the infraction. They carry ledgers bound in dark leather and those terrifying wooden calipers you saw earlier. But up close, you notice the calipers are intricate. They have brass hinges and little tick marks engraved on the side. They aren't just sticks, they're precision instruments of oppression. You watch them stop at a stall selling pottery. The potter is a nervous man with flour on his cheek. He freezes as the wardens approach. "Citizen," the lead warden says. His voice is smooth, cultivated, and utterly devoid of warmth. "Your wares?" He picks up a clay jug. It's a simple thing, brown and sturdy. The curve of this handle, the warden notes, tracing it with a gloved finger. It is whimsical. Whimsical. It's a handle. It curves so you can hold it. It suggests a certain bounce. The warden continues, his eyes narrowing behind the islets of his hood. A lightness of spirit. Why did you not make it straight? Straight lines are godly. Curves are the path of the serpent. It fired that way in the kill. Sir, the potter stammers, looking at his feet. The clay slumped. Sloth, the warden diagnoses instantly. Or perhaps a subconscious desire to inject levity into hydration. Which is it? Sloth, sir. Definitely sloth. The potter cries out. It's better to be lazy than happy in Astra. Very well. Smash it. You watch, horrified, as the potter takes a hammer and shatters his own work. The shards scatter across the cobblestones. The warden nods, makes a note in his ledger probably. Pottery. Successfully depressed, and moves on. It's a brutal display of power. It's not just about faces. It's about aesthetics. They are policing the vibe of the entire town. You drift closer to a stall selling fabric. You need to keep moving to avoid suspicion. Pretend to be interested in a bolt of scratchy gray wool. The merchant is a woman with a face like a stone gargoyle. She is perfect. She is the ideal Astra citizen. Fine weave, you whisper, touching the cloth. It feels like steel wool. It itches, she whispers back, with a hint of pride. Ideally suited for penance. I'll take a yard, you say. You don't need it, but you need cover. As she measures the cloth, you see the warden zeroing in on a new target. A young couple standing near the well. They are holding hands. That's allowed technically, but they are looking at each other with that distinct, sickeningly sweet look of new love. Their faces are relaxed. Their eyes are soft. The wardens descend. Separate, the command cracks like a whip. The couple jumps apart, dropping hands. The young man looks terrified. The girl looks defiant. Public display of affection, the warden states. Affection leads to joy. Joy leads to the open mouth. The open mouth invites the pestilence. We were just standing, the girl says. Her voice trembles, but she holds her ground. Your face was not standing, the warden counters. He raises the calipers. Submit to the geometry. This is the moment. You've been waiting to see this up close. The warden steps in and places the points of the calipers on the corners of the girl's mouth. He checks the angle against a horizontal level built into the tool. 0 degrees, he mutters. Neutral. He moves the calipers to her eyes. He measures the crow's feet area, the orbicularis oculi muscle. Contraction detected, he announces. You are smiling with your eyes, the Duchenne marker. A mainstream historical fact, the Duchenne smile. Named after the French anatomist Duchenne de Boulogne, involves the contraction of both the zygomatic major muscle raising the mouth corners and the orbicularis oculi crinkling the eyes. It is widely considered the only genuine smile. Fake smiles usually only involve the mouth. The wardens of Astra are apparently advanced students of anatomy. They know that the eyes don't lie. It was the sun, the girl lies. It's bright. The sun is behind a cloud, the warden says, gesturing to the eternal gray ceiling above. This was an internal sun, a sun of the heart, which is contraband. He pulls out a slip of parchment and hands it to the young man. Fine of 2 silver groats and 3 days of fasting. If I see her eyes crinkle again, she goes to the weeping cell. The weeping cell. You don't want to know what that is. It's probably a room filled with onions and sad poetry. The couple hurries away, heads bowed, their romance effectively crushed under the boot of bureaucracy. You feel a surge of indignation. It's so petty. But then you remember the old man's story. They truly believe this is life or death. To them, that girl's smiling eyes are as dangerous as a loaded crossbow pointed at the town center. You turn back to the fabric merchant. She has finished cutting your itchcloth. She hands it to you. Be careful, she whispers, leaning over the counter. You have a bouncy walk. You freeze. I do. You step too light, she says. You walk like you have hope. Walk heavier. Drag your heels, like you are carrying a corpse. Thanks for the tip, you mutter. You modify your gait. You slouch. You drag your feet. Scuff, scuff, scuff. It's exhausting. It takes twice as much energy to look this lethargic. As you shuffle through the market, you start to notice the sheer ingenuity of the repression. The bread is baked into dense, flat loaves that require serious chewing. No light, fluffy buns here. The children's toys are blocks of wood painted black. Even the flowers for sale are dried thistles and dead lilies. A trivial fact. In medieval times, there were actual sumptuary laws that governed what people could eat. For example, during Lent, you couldn't eat meat, eggs, or dairy. But rich people got around this by eating beaver tails classified as fish because they swam, or puffins. Here in Austria, there are no loopholes. The food police are just as strict as the face police. Suddenly you feel a tap on your shoulder. It's not a tap, really. It's a poke. With a hard wooden object, you turn slowly, channeling your inner statue. It's a warden. He is tall, his hood casting his face in deep shadow. He smells of old parchment and judgment. "Traveler," he says. "He spotted you." Of course he did. You're the only one in a charcoal cloak that looks less than 10 years old. Your mouth? What about it? You ask, keeping your lips barely moving. It has a natural upward tilt, he observes, bringing the calipers up, resting physiognomy. I was born this way, you lie. My mother was a very serious woman, but my father, he had a twitch. We shall see. He presses the cold wood against your face. You feel the points digging into your skin. You concentrate on the saddest thing you can think of. You think about the Library of Alexandria again. You think about dropping a brand new pizza face down on a dirty floor. You think about the ending of Marley and Me. The warden holds the pose for an uncomfortable amount of time. He's staring into your eyes, looking for that douche and sparkle. You make your eyes dead. Think about tax returns. He grunts. Acceptable. Borderline. He lowers the calipers. You are buying wool? For a penance shirt, you say quickly. I plan to wear it next to the skin. Excellent, he says. Chafing purifies the spirit. He marks something in his book, probably traveler, sufficiently miserable, and turns to leave. But as he turns, his robe catches on a crate of turnips. He stumbles. It's a classic pratfall. Flails his arms. His ledger flies into the air. He lands hard on his backside in a puddle of mud. Splat. The sound is objectively funny. It's a wet, squelching thud. The entire market freezes. 50 people turn to look. The warden is sitting in the mud, his dignity completely shattered. His hood is askew. He looks ridiculous. This is the test. This is the moment where the dam could break. You feel the bubble of laughter rising in your chest. It's volcanic. You bite your tongue so hard you taste blood. You look around. The fishmonger is turning purple. He is holding his breath. The fabric woman is clutching her own throat. The potter is staring at the sky, praying for strength. Nobody laughs. Not a sound. Instead, a collective groan goes up from the crowd, a moan of shared empathy. Oh, the tragedy. Someone wails, the humanity. Another cries. To fall is the lot of man. The fishmonger shouts, shaking his head. They are covering it up. They're turning the comedy into a tragedy to save their own skins. The warden scrambles up, his face red with fury and embarrassment. He brushes the mud off his robes. He glares at the crowd, daring someone to crack. He scans the faces. He sees only concern. Deep, exaggerated, theatrical concern. The mud is treacherous, he snarls, trying to regain his composure. It seeks to bring the righteous low, amen. The crowd choruses, cursed mud. He grabs his ledger from the ground, wipes the muck off it, and storms away. He let out a breath. That was close. Too close. The tension in the air is palpable. It wasn't just fear, it was struggle. These people are dying to laugh. They're starving for it. The suppression is creating a pressure cooker effect. Historians still argue about the nature of emotional regimes, how societies dictate how we should feel. In Austria, the regime is cracking. You can't suppress a pratfall forever. The slapstick of the universe is undefeated. You gather your itchy wool and move away from the scene of the crime. You need to get out of the open. You need to find somewhere where the rules might be a little looser. You notice something during the commotion? When the warden fell, a young boy near the alleyway didn't groan. He didn't look concerned. He looked delighted. And then he slipped away into a side street. He was wearing a gray tunic, but you caught a flash of something underneath, something bright. Red. You decide to follow him. If there is a resistance in this town, it's not going to be found in the church or the market. It's going to be found where the kids are hiding. You turn down the alleyway, the mud sucking at your boots. The Sorrow Patrol owns the main streets, but the shadows belong to the jester. And you have a feeling that Pippin the Merry might have left a legacy after all. Following a child through the twisting alleyways of a medieval town is harder than it looks. The kid moves like a cat, silent, quick, and seemingly able to vanish into brick walls. You, on the other hand, are dragging your feet in the prescribed gait of despair, which makes you slow and clumsy. You almost lose them twice. Once when a cart full of manure blocks the path smells appropriately awful, and again when a group of nuns crosses the street in a slow, mournful procession, blocking your view. But you catch a glimpse of that red fabric, again a flash of defiance in a world of grayscale. He leads you away from the market, away from the respectable sadness of the town center, and into the poorer districts. Here the houses lean even closer together, blocking out the sky completely. The mud is darker, the smell is sharper. The boy ducks into a doorway that looks like it belongs to a condemned building. The door is hanging off one hinge. There's a symbol scratched into the wood-accrued drawing of a feather. A tickle feather. You pause? Is this a trap? Is this where the wardens lure people who look too happy? But curiosity, in the desperate need to see something other than a frown, pushes you forward. You step inside. It's dark. It smells of damp earth and lavender. That's odd. Lavender is a pleasant smell, a happy smell. You descend a set of stone stairs. They're worn smooth in the middle, suggesting many feet have come this way. At the bottom, there is a heavy oak door with a small viewing slot. You knock. 3 quick raps. The slot slides open. A pair of eyes stares out at you. You're suspicious, but alive. What is the color of the sun? A voice whispers. It's a code. You have to think fast. In Austria, the sun is gray. But here, yellow. You guess. Bright yellow. There is a pause. Then the sound of a heavy bolt sliding back. The door creaks open. Come in quickly, the voice says. Before the joy leaks out, you step inside, and your senses are assaulted. You are in a cellar lit by dozens of warm, golden candles. The walls are draped with tapestries, not the drab ones from the market, but old, faded ones that show hunting scenes, feasts, and dancing. They must have been hidden for generations, but it's the people that shock you. There are about 20 of them, and they are wearing color. Shocking how powerful color can be when you've been starved of it. See a woman in a blue shawl, a man with a green sash. The boy you followed is pulling off his gray tunic to reveal a bright red shirt underneath. It's a riot of forbidden hues, and they are smiling. Genuine Duchenne smiles. They're whispering, but the whispers are animated. Someone is giggling in the corner. Welcome to the chromatic underground, the doorman says. He's a burly man wearing a vest, dyed with saffron, a criminal amount of yellow. I am Dai's Master Hans. This is dangerous, you stammer, looking around. If the wardens find this, they won't, Hans says with a grin. They are afraid of the dark. They think joy's a disease, so they stay in the light where they can measure it. Down here we are immune. He leads you further into the room. You see vats of dye in the corner. This is a contraband operation. In a town where gray is the law, making red dye is like cooking meth. We smuggle the pigments in, Hans explains, showing you a jar of crushed cochineal beetles, inside sacks of coal, inside hollowed-out turnips. It's difficult, but necessary. The soul needs color, traveler. Without it, we wither. A mainstream historical fact. In the Middle Ages, sumptuary laws regulated color strictly. Royal purple Tyrian purple was reserved for kings. Peasants wore russet and undyed wool. But in Austria, the ban on bright colors serves a psychological purpose. It enforces the collective depression. By reclaiming color, these rebels are reclaiming their humanity. Here, a woman says, handing you a cup. Drink. It's wine, but not the watered-down swill from the inn. It's spiced wine. It tastes of cinnamon, cloves, and honey. It tastes like Christmas. Gustatory pleasure, she whispers conspiratorially. A capital offense. You take a sip. It's delicious. You feel a warmth spreading through your chest that has nothing to do with the alcohol. It's the feeling of rebellion. We meet once a week, Hans says, to remember, to practice. Practice what? Humanity. You watch as the group gathers in a circle. They aren't planning a coup. They aren't plotting to assassinate the elders. They are doing something much more subversive. They're telling jokes. Why did the chicken cross the road? A young girl asks, giggling. To get to the other side? The group choruses in a hushed whisper. It's the oldest, dumbest joke in the book. But here, it's revolutionary. They laugh. It's a soft, muffled sound, like rustling leaves, but it's real laughter. Then, they start the tickle circle. This sounds bizarre, but in context it makes sense. If laughter is banned, you have to induce it artificially to keep the muscles working. They pair up. One person gently tickles the other. The goal is to laugh silently, to let the joy bubble up, but keep the volume down. You watch a burly blacksmith being tickled by his wife. His face turns red, shoulders shake, tears stream down his face. He is convulsing with silent mirth. It looks agonizing and ecstatic at the same time. It releases the pressure, Hans explains, watching them fondly. If we didn't do this, we would explode. The bad air isn't outside, traveler. It's inside. It's the silence that rots us. You realize that this cellar is a pressure valve for the entire town. These people go back out into the gray world, hiding their red shirts and their blue socks, but carrying a secret warmth that allows them to survive the cold looks of the wardens. But what about the plague, you asked? The fresco? The story of the jester? Hans's face grows serious. The plague was real, he admits. My great-grandfather died in it, but the jester, he was a scapegoat. The elders needed someone to blame. They couldn't blame God, so they blamed the funny man. And in doing so, they gave him power he never had. He picks up a piece of yellow cloth. We don't mock the dead, he says softly. We honor them by living. The dead don't want us to be gray ghosts. They want us to see the sun. Suddenly there is a rhythmic knocking on the heavy door. Thump, thump. The room freezes. The laughter dies instantly. Color seems to drain out of the faces. Is it the wardens? The woman whispers, clutching her blue shawl. Hans moves to the door. He peers through the slot. He turns back, his face pale. No, he says. It's worse. He unbolts the door. Standing there is not a warden, but a small, hunched figure wrapped in rags. It's the old man from the end, the one who told you the story. But now in the candlelight, you see something you missed before. Under his rags, he is wearing a tattered, faded piece of cloth around his neck, has a pattern on it. Diamonds, red and yellow diamonds. The room gasps. The keeper, Hans, whispers, bowing his head. The old man shuffles in. He looks at the colors, at the wine, at the fearful faces. He doesn't smile. He looks incredibly sad. You play with fire, he rasps, but the fire is going out. He reaches into his rags and pulls out an object. It's a stick with a carved head on top, wearing a miniature cap with bells. A jester's bauble. The Morot. I found it, the old man says, holding it up like a holy relic. In the ruins of the old stage, the wood is rotting, but the face still smiles. The carved face on the stick is indeed grinning maniacally. It's disturbing and cheerful all at once. The time is coming, the old man says. The cycle is ending. The 100 years of silence are almost up. The jester must return. What do you mean? The prophecy, Hans explains. The elders say the ban is eternal, but the underground legend says that when the great silence breaks, the jester will return to judge us. Not to kill us, but to test us. If we can laugh without fear, the curse is lifted. If we fear the laugh, the silence becomes permanent. The old man looks at you. You, traveler, you are the catalyst. You walk with a light step. You ask questions. You are the stone in the shoe of Astra. Me, you say. I'm just passing through. Nobody just passes through Astra, the old man says. The mist keeps you until you serve your purpose. He hands you the bauble. Keep it hidden, but keep it close. Tomorrow is the Feast of Ashes. The elders will be there. The wardens will be there. And something is going to happen. You take the stick. The bells give a tiny, muffled tink. It sounds like a thunderclap in the quiet room. The meeting breaks up. The rebels hide their colors under gray cloaks. They snuff the golden candles. The room plunges back into darkness. You leave the cellar, stepping back into the damp, gray reality of the alley. You have a jester's stick hidden in your cloak and a belly full of spiced wine. You feel like a walking contradiction. As you head back to the inn, you see the face wardens patrolling the main street. They look more menacing now. They sense something. The vibe is shifting. The color you saw in the cellar is leaking out into the world, invisible but palpable. You touch the bauble in your pocket. The painted grin feels hot against your hand. The old man is right. Something is going to happen at the Feast of Ashes. The pressure is too high. The valve is going to blow. And you have a feeling that when it does, it won't be a polite chuckle. It's going to be a riot of laughter. The Feast of Ashes is exactly as appetizing as it sounds. The next morning, the entire town gathers in the main square. Long wooden tables have been set up, stretching from the church steps to the darkened spot where the maypole used to be. The sky is its usual shade of bruised pewter, and a light drizzle is falling, adding a nice layer of misery to the proceedings. You take a seat on a damp bench, wedged between a stone-faced miller and a woman who looks like she's mentally drafting her own obituary. Everyone is wearing their best gray. The silence is profound. Hundreds of people, and the only sound is the scraping of wooden spoons on wooden bowls. The food is served. It is a communal stew. It is beige. It has lumps. And true to the name of the feast, the cooks have actually sprinkled wood ash into the pot. To remind us, the miller whispers to you that we are but dust, and to ensure we don't enjoy lunch, you whisper back. He glares at you but doesn't report you. He's too busy trying to swallow a particularly gritty piece of turnip. At the head table sit the town elders. These are the men who make the face wardens look like party animals. They are ancient. Their skin is like parchment stretched over skulls. They wear robes of black velvet that absorb the light. They do not eat. They just watch. The chief elder stands up. He looks like a vulture who has been taxidermied in a bad mood. "Citizens of Astra," he intones, his voice dry as a dead leaf. "We gather to remember the great silence. Eat the ash of our ancestors' folly. Let the taste of bitterness cleanse your palates of the desire for sweetness." "Amen," the crowd murmurs, sounding like a collective sigh. You look around, the tension is palpable. Chromatic Underground members are scattered through the crowd. You spot Hans the Dyer a few tables away. He catches your eye and gives a microscopic nod. He looks nervous. His hand keeps drifting to his pocket. The meal proceeds in grim silence. The face wardens patrol the aisles, calipers ready. They are looking for signs of gustatory pleasure. If anyone looks like they are enjoying the stew which is chemically impossible, they will be fined. Suddenly a disturbance. Near the fountain, which is dry, of course, a stray dog wanders into the square. It's a scrappy, ugly little thing with one ear flopped over and a tail that wags with irrepressible optimism. It trots up to a table where a family is eating. It sniffs a child's leg. The child is a toddler, maybe 2 years old. He is sitting on his mother's lap. He hasn't learned the rules yet. He doesn't know about the jester. He just sees a funny dog. The dog shakes itself, sending a spray of rainwater over the people nearby. It does a little playbow, its front paws slapping the cobblestones. It yips, and the child laughs. It's a pure, bell-like sound. It's a bubbling, infectious giggle that cuts through the gray silence like a sunbeam. He, he, he. The sound hits the square like a bomb blast. Every spoon stops. Every head turns. The elders freeze. The wardens spin around. The mother goes pale. She clamps her hand over the child's mouth, her eyes wide with terror. "Hush," she hisses. "Hush, for the love of God." But it's too late. The damage is done. The joyful noise has been released. A warden is on them in seconds. He looms over the mother. "The child," he says, pointing a gloved finger. He emitted a sound of mirth. He is choking. The mother lies desperately. It was a cough, a spasm of the throat. "I know the difference between a cough and a chortle woman," the warden sneers. He reaches for the child. The contagion must be contained. Child goes to the silent nursery. The silent nursery, you shudder. It sounds like a place where childhood goes to die. The mother clings to her son. No, he is a baby. He doesn't know. "Ignorance is no excuse for endangering the soul of the town," the warden states. He grabs the child's arm. The crowd shifts. You feel the change in the air. This isn't just bureaucratic oppression anymore. This is cruelty. The people are angry. The Chromatic Underground members are tense, their hands clenching into fists under the tables. "Leave him be," a voice says. It's Hans. He has stood up. His face is pale, but his eyes are fierce. The warden turns slowly. "Sit down, Dyer. This does not concern you." "It concerns us all," Hans says, his voice shaking but gaining strength. He is a child. Children laugh. It is nature. Nature is fallen. The chief elder screeches from the high table. "Nature brought the plague. Sit down, or you will join the boy in the silence." Hans hesitates. He looks around. He is waiting for support, but the fear is still too strong. The people look down at their bowls. The conditioning of 100 years is heavy. Hans slowly sinks back onto his bench, defeated. The warden takes the child. The mother is weeping silently now, tears tracking through the ash on her face. The child, sensing the mood, starts to cry, a wailing, miserable sound. "Better." The warden nods. Tears are safe. Tears cleanse. He hands the crying child back to the mother. "Keep him weeping. If he laughs again, we take him." It's a reprieve, but a sickening one. The child is safe only because he is miserable. You feel sick. The stew tastes like mud in your mouth. You reach into your cloak and touch the jester's bauble. The wooden face grins against your palm. You want to pull it out. You want to wave it in the elder's face. But you know it would just get you on, probably Hanskilled. The feast drags on, but the atmosphere has shifted. The fear has turned brittle. The sight of the warden threatening a baby has crossed a line. You can see it in the eyes of the miller next to you. He is gripping his spoon so hard it snaps. Crack, the sound echoes. Careful, you whisper. I am tired of ash, he whispers back. I am tired of gray. I want to taste an apple. It's a red, sweet apple. Just then, a sound comes drifting over the town wall. It's faint at first, carried on the wind. A melody, high, clear, and jaunty. Someone is whistling, not a mournful dirge, a happy, bouncing tune that makes you want to tap your foot. The elders stand up. What is that? As the chief elder demands. Who dares? The sound gets louder. It's coming from the gate. The guards are shouting, but the whistling continues. It's getting closer. And then, through the archway of the square, a figure appears. It's a man. He is wearing a cloak of many colors, patches of blue, green, and yes, yellow. He has a lute strapped to his back. He is strolling into the square as if he owns it, whistling his heart out. He stops when he sees the crowd. He sees the gray clothes, the ash-covered faces, the grim elders. He blinks. He takes the whistle from his lips. He smiles. A big, wide, Duchan smile. Good afternoon, he shouts, his voice booming. I seem to have taken a wrong turn. I was looking for the fair at Ostra. Is this the funeral for the fair? The silence that follows is absolute. It is the silence of a vacuum before the air rushes in. This is the minstrel, the catalyst, stranger who didn't get the memo. The chief elder points a trembling finger. Sees him. He shrieks. Sees the demon. The wardens rush forward. The minstrel looks confused. He reaches for his lute, perhaps thinking a song will smooth things over. Big mistake. Well there, friends, says, backing up. I can play a sad song if you prefer. The death of the swan. The widow's lament. He mocks us. A warden yells. He brings the miasma. They tackle him. It's a pylon of black robes. The lute crunches. The minstrel goes down under a heap of misery. You stand up. Hans stands up. Half the square stands up. This is it. The trial of levity is about to begin. The stranger has unknowingly walked into a theological minefield, and his trial is going to be the spark that ignites the powder keg. The elders descend from their high table. They circle the pile of wardens. Bring him to the dais, the chief elder commands. We will judge him now. We'll see if he bleeds like a man or vanishes like a spirit. They drag the minstrel up the steps. He is disheveled, his colorful cloak torn, his lip bleeding. Ow! But he isn't crying. He looks fascinated. You people are serious, he says, spitting out a tooth. Very serious silence. The elder roars. You stand accused of gross levity, of public mirth, of endangering the soul of the city. I was just whistling, the minstrel says. Whistling is the devil's flute. The elder screams. The absurdity of the moment hits you. Man is on trial for his life because he whistled. It is terrifying, yes, but it is also hilariously, stupidly absurd. And looking at the crowd, you see that they are starting to see it too. The spell of fear is cracking under the weight of the ridiculousness. You grip the bauble in your pocket. The minstrel needs help. And you have the symbol of the one thing the elders fear more than anything. The jester is about to make a comeback. I was whistling, Julian says, rubbing his bruised jaw. It was the Miller's Daughter, a catchy tune. You might like it if you loosened your corset. The crowd gasps, collective intake of breath that sucks the mist right out of the air. He made a joke of sarcasm. To the chief elder, the elder turns purple. Insolence. He speaks with the tongue of the serpent. He mocks the gravity of our penance. He looks ridiculous, shouting orders that no one can hear over the guffaws. And then, in his fury, he slips. He steps on the hem of his own black robe. He flails. He pirouettes. He falls off the dais, landing face first in a pile of ash. Poof. A cloud of gray dust puffs up around him. The crowd goes silent for 1 second. Then the minstrel who has pulled the gag from his mouth starts to laugh. A deep, belly-shaking laugh. That, Julian gasps, pointing at the elder, was comedy gold. The fear evaporates. Can't be afraid of a tyrant who looks like a dusted donut. The wardens look at each other. They look at the laughing crowd. They look at their calibers. And slowly, one by one, they lower their tools. They realize they are outnumbered. They realize they look silly in their hoods. One warden, the one who fell in the mud earlier, starts to chuckle. He doesn't inspect your face. He's smiling. Yes, you say. I think my work here is done. Safe travels, he says. And hey, nice smile. You walk out of Ostra. The mist is lifting. The road ahead is muddy, yes. But the mud doesn't seem to suck at your boots anymore. It just squelches. A funny, rude sound. You look back at the town. You can hear it now. The sound of a town waking up. A dog barks. A hammer rings on an anvil. A child screams with delight.